yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into this. Oh, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had a real Vosh moment there. I didn't mean to show all of my Bulbasaur searches and tree plushie searches. I'm sorry. Scandalous, yeah. Everybody needs a Vosh moment. Okay. All right. Hello. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Okay. So let's jump into this one. Survey of over 90,000 trans people shows vast improvement in life satisfaction after transition. The National Center for Transgender Equality released early insights from its 2022 U.S. Transgender Survey, the largest survey of trans people in U.S. history. That was the one that we did on stream right before it got canceled mega hard. That was the one that I misled all of my friends that I was dropping some big drama bomb or something like that. Yo, thanks Jan for the sub. Really appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Tigers Jenkins. Thank you for the gifted sub. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, so this was the one that we did. We did it on stream, and we told everyone that we were dropping some huge drama bomb. We had all of this like planned out. I was like doing all of this just to get people to come to my stream. And I said, once I hit 100 viewers, we'll go over the drama. And so I got 100 viewers, and so we did the trans survey instead. And I thought that was so funny. I got criticism for it. And, I think at the time I said that I realized that it was a little bit shifty of me to mislead people like that. But you know what? I'm taking that back. I think that was incredibly based. I think that was so based. I think that was the best thing that I've done with this stream. So, yeah. Anyway, let's get into this. The survey of over 90,000 trans people. That's a lot of trans people. What is this, Twitter? Okay. A survey of more than 90,000 transgender people in the U.S., the largest nationwide survey of the community ever, found that trans people continue to experience workplace and medical discrimination. However, the overwhelming majority of them still report more life satisfaction after having transitioned. The National Center for Transgender Equality, or NCTE, one of the country's largest trans rights organizations, released its 2022 U.S. Transgender Survey Early Insights Report Wednesday, after a years-long delay due in part to the pandemic. The survey, the most comprehensive look to date at life for transgender people in the U.S., comes as hundreds of bills in the last 3 years have attempted to roll back trans rights, most often by restricting trans people's access to transition-related healthcare and trans students' abilities to play school sports. You did the survey as well. Wow, that's incredible. I love that. I love that a lot. There's still a drought of information available to lawmakers, the media, and advocates regarding our experiences and needs. NCTE Executive Director Rodrigo Lettinen, I'm sorry, I'll never get that right, said at a news conference Tuesday, at best, we're working in a vacuum of information. At worst, we're combating dangerous misinformation being spread by anti-trans extremists. Without question, the misinformation and lack of understanding is underpinning these escalating legislative attacks against our community. That's a nice photo. A woman attends a rally in support of trans youth in schools on June 26, 2023, outside Fayette County Public Schools Central Office in Lexington, Kentucky. Wow, I didn't know they had trans rallies in Kentucky. That's cool. Oh my gosh. The organization's 2015 U.S. Transgender Survey had been the largest survey of trans people in the country, with nearly 28,000 respondents 18 and older, and has been widely cited, including by Congress and the Supreme Court. Josie Calabero, the director of the survey, said the 2022 iteration more than tripled the number of respondents, with a total of 92,329 from every state and many U.S. territories, and was improved in a number of other ways. For example, it included 605 possible questions, though no respondent received all possible questions, up from 324 in the 2015 survey, and it included more than 8,000 respondents who were 16 and 17. However, study authors note that respondents who participated in the online survey were not drawn from a random sample, and that, though the sample is large, the findings might not be representative of all trans people. Of the 84,170 adult respondents, 38% identified as non-binary, 35% identified as transgender women, 25% identified as transgender men, and 2% identified as cross-dressers. Interesting. 38% non-binary. Fascinating. I wonder what percentage of these non-binary people are on HRT or are taking steps to change their sex on their ID documents or change their name or any of the things that transgender men and transgender women do as part of their transition. That is a large percent. That's a majority of the respondents actually fit into that category. Do we think that's worrisome? Do we think it's worrisome that the largest voice in this survey were people that identify simply as non-binary? You'd say a good half could be? Half of the 38%? You think? You think it's worrisome, Miranda? I don't know. I think the largest voices should be these two. Trans men and trans women. Anyway. A lot of MTF and FTM who are medically transitioning identify as non-binary in some way. Interesting. Do you think they identify more as non-binary, or do you think they identify more as like a medically transitioning trans person? If they're transsexual non-binary, they should have a voice, but cissexual non-binary really aren't affected the same way. I agree with that. It's a bit of, what do they call it, cissexual privilege? I want a case study on the cross-dressers who identify as trans. That wasn't my experience in my rep years spending time in cross-dressing spaces. Yeah. I never really spent any time in cross-dressing spaces, actually. I think Smith would have something to say about that. I know Smith for a while identified as a femboy, who was a cross-dresser. I'll ask him about it later. Let's continue. Among the key findings released Wednesday, the survey found that trans people continue to report experiencing discrimination and mistreatment because of their gender identities and/or expressions. More than 1/3 of adult respondents, or 34%, were experiencing poverty at the time of the survey, and 18% were unemployed. More than 1 in 10, or 11% of respondents who have ever held jobs, said they had been fired or forced to resign or had lost jobs or been laid off because of their gender identities or expressions. And in line with previous survey findings, 30% of respondents had experienced homelessness in their lifetimes. Of adult respondents who saw healthcare providers in the previous 12 months, 48% reported having had at least one negative experience because they were transgender, including being refused healthcare, having staff members use incorrect pronouns for them, or having providers use abusive language or be physically rough or abusive while treating them. Hey, Reznov, thanks for the sub. Appreciate the support. That's 12 months in a row. Incredible. Look at you, a whole year. Good afternoon. It's good to see you here. Fear of mistreatment prevented 24% of respondents from seeing doctors when they needed it in the 12 months before the survey. That's a big one, fear of mistreatment. Many respondents also reported past mistreatment in school. Of adult respondents, 80% who were out or perceived as trans in K-12 experienced one or more forms of mistreatment, including verbal harassment, physical attacks, online bullying, or being denied use of the restrooms or locker rooms that matched their gender identities. Of the 8,159 respondents who were 16 and 17, 60% reported such mistreatment. Interesting. Yeah, I know that kids are cruel, and high school teachers really, they can't really be educated on every single gender issue. Some of them let their own biases affect how they treat their students, and that's pretty sad. Despite those negative experiences, though, the vast majority of adult respondents, 79%, who lived at least some of the time in different genders from the ones they were assigned at birth, reported that they were a lot more satisfied with their lives. An additional 15% reported they were a little more satisfied. So here's the breakdown here. More than 9 in 10 respondents were at least a little more satisfied with their life after transitioning. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. That's what, 94%? Yeah, 94%. Incredible. That makes sense, though. I mean, this aligns with everything that we know about trans healthcare, and what we know about gender dysphoria. Respondents who received transition-related medical care reported similarly high rates of satisfaction. Of respondents who are currently receiving hormone treatment, 84% said receiving such treatment for their gender identities and transitions made them a lot more satisfied with their lives, and 14% said it made them a little more satisfied. Just 1% said hormone treatment made them neither more or less satisfied, and less than 1% said hormone treatment made them a lot less satisfied. Interesting. Yeah, detransitioners are really like a small minority of an already small minority. So, something to keep in mind. Of respondents who underwent at least one form of gender-affirming surgery, 88% said it made them a lot more satisfied, and 9% said it made them a little more satisfied. Less than 2% total said the surgery made them a little less or a lot less satisfied. It might seem obvious to some of us that, of course, if you're transgender and you need transition-related healthcare, of course your life is better off when you get that healthcare. The director said Tuesday. But it's really important to have actually asked people and found out objectively what is their experience, because transition-related healthcare is otherwise so under attack in state legislatures around the country. And that's what I try to do. I try to talk to other trans people. I try to share their experiences and get their stories out there. And that is so, so, so important to hear from other trans people about their experiences. Effects of anti-trans legislation. In the last 3 years, 23 states have restricted gender-affirming healthcare, including puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgeries for minors and, in a few cases, adults, according to the Movement Advancement Project, an LGBTQ think tank. Think tank. I never liked that term, think tank. Half of states have banned trans student athletes from playing school sports on the teams that align with their gender identities rather than their assigned sexes at birth, while 10 states have passed laws restricting what bathrooms trans people can use in schools, colleges, and/or government-owned buildings. Nearly half of respondents to the latest U.S. transgender survey said they had thought about moving to other states because their state governments considered or passed such laws that target transgender people, and 5%, about 4,600 people, said they had to actually move to other states because of such legislation. That graph is like when YouTube used to have thumbs up and thumbs down, And if it was so overwhelming of a majority, people would say it looked like a lightsaber. That's a lightsaber moment. You can't argue against that overwhelming majority. Yeah, I agree with that. Sasha, you actually bring up a good point. You said just move, forehead. Yeah, it's not exactly easy to pick up all your stuff and move across the country. It was easy for me because I had done it prior. But I also didn't move for transition-related reasons. I didn't even start my transition journey until I got out here to Colorado. So I guess I had it a little bit easier than some. The top 10 states where trans respondents most often reported moving from were, in alphabetical order, Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Missouri, North Carolina, Ohio, Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. You would think Virginia wouldn't be on that list, right? I mean, Virginia has DC, right? That is Virginia, right? The District of Columbia is right in the smack dab middle of Virginia. I think, anyway. Or is that one of the Carolinas? I can't remember anymore. I'm so bad at geography. DC is its own district. Yes, I know that, but it's physically located within the state of Virginia, right? Like in the borders of Virginia. Oh, but it borders Virginia. It's on the borders of Virginia, or is it like inside the borders? Okay, whatever. I'm not here to take social studies. All right, okay, it's outside the borders of Virginia. Okay, I get it. It's it. All right, we're moving on from Virginia. Okay. The state of trans rights across the country does not necessarily reflect what trans people are experiencing at home with their families. Of adult respondents, 67% reported that their immediate families were either supportive or very supportive, while 22% reported they were neither supportive nor unsupportive, and 12% reported that they were either unsupportive or very unsupportive. Of 16 and 17-year-old respondents, 44% reported that their families were either supportive or very supportive, while 28% reported that they were neither supportive nor unsupportive, and 29% reported that they were unsupportive or very unsupportive. Interesting dynamic here. You can see that for trans adults, the percentage reporting that their families are unsupportive are wildly different. We've got 12% for adults and 29% for children. Why is that? Why do we think that is? Do we think it's simply because they're young and their families have heard about this like rapid onset gender dysphoria thing? And they think that, oh, well, you'll grow out of it, stuff like that. What happens? Like the day that one of these people turns 18, do their families just like magically accept them? I don't think that's how it works. I'd like to see more data on the ages of respondents because, oh gosh, I really wish I had like the results of the survey that I could just dive into. Yeah, like I came out to my family and they were all instantly supportive. That's good. That's good. I'm glad. I'm glad you had that experience. I didn't have a whole lot of family to come out to personally. I did come out to my my ex stepfather, because he's one of the last few remaining quote unquote family members I have, and he's been okay. He still like calls me buddy and uses he him pronouns for me, but you know, it's been 3 years now. I think he's been given enough time. Survivor bias, sort of. The trans kids don't come out unless they already have a more supportive family. trans adults come out whether or not their family is supportive. Yeah, maybe. It's important to see that many trans people do have supportive families. Since we often hear and see otherwise, Sandy James, one of the report's authors, said at Tuesday's news conference. The new data will revolutionize the field of transgender advocacy. I'm confident that the results of the 2022 survey will not only serve as a crucial tool for education, research, and policy, but it will also catalyze a paradigm shift for the movement of transgender advocacy by empowering advocates with robust and current data regarding our needs and experiences, he said. Yeah, I didn't really hinge my transition on whether my family would support me or not. Not that I really cared one way or the other, but yeah. So there's that. 2% cross-dressers. Jeez Louise. Do they really need to be? Okay. Anyway. Let's move on, shall we?